I walked down the street with a reporter from a national network who looked around and saw all of these boarded up properties and said to me, Councilman, you know, that riot really tore up this community, didn't it? And I said, look again. Look at the boards on those homes. Do they look like they were tacked up yesterday? No, they've been there 20 years, maybe longer. I said, the riot didn't tear up the community. The condition of the community caused the uprising that we had.
And the police and Freddie Gray made eye contact. Freddie Gray ran, and he was arrested essentially for running while black.
What may have followed is a so-called rough ride, or a deliberate tactic used by police to harm unbelted, handcuffed passengers.
And he emerged at the end of that ride with an 80% torn spine.
We had to get to the hospital and find out if it was true. We was thinking that maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they had the wrong room. This can't be happening to Al Freddie.
That's right. We ain't gonna let this happen no more. We came to send them a strong message that Black Lives Matter.
Freddie Gray, a young man arrested by Baltimore City Police last weekend, has died.
By the grace of God, justice shall prevail.
The medical examiner will list the cause of death as trauma to the neck and spine.
There were thousands of protesters at City Hall where they had gathered after marching from the police district where Freddie Gray was arrested a week ago.
You'll see these police officers in riot gear trying to hold this position.
I am taken back by the amount of people that there are, community members. I'm saying to them, family, let me talk to you. No, you don't say nothing. You're one of them. You're a Nazi. And I'm getting all this hatred.
There have been sudden, spontaneous confrontations.
We're not ignorant. We just want peace.
But so far, no major eruptions of violence in Baltimore.
Now, there was information that there was these various sites that were going to be targeted by bands of young people.
What they did, as smart as the Baltimore City Police Department is, they shut down the Mondawmin Mall bus terminal. That's a major terminal, so you shut that down, kids can't go nowhere.
These kids clearly are getting frustrated.
Western Baltimore is under siege at this moment.
The real story is that Freddie Gray was murdered by the police, and my city took to the streets and took the city back.
Hey guys, they just set the CVS on fire.
Cop cars were being destroyed. Businesses were being destroyed. It's like a demon took over the city.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan declared a state of emergency. The governor sends 2,000 National Guardsmen to help police as Baltimore remains under a state of emergency.
Anybody wear small?
I had to make it my size. because I'll get walking the moment.
I didn't grow up in the hood, but I always was around people who did and always tried to use the perspective that I was fortunate enough to have by not growing up in the hood to be able to say it's not right. The first time I heard about Freddie Gray was on TV. I was downtown, I was working at the Marriott Waterfront. And my white coworker, I remember her saying, "Oh my gosh, has anybody been hurt? Has anybody been injured?" And I remember saying to her, "Yeah, somebody been hurt, somebody been injured, somebody died, and that's what this is about." And she was saying, no, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the police. I mean, something at that moment like snapped inside of me, and it was just like, yeah, I can't do this. Like, I can't just sit on the sidelines. This is a part of me. From that Saturday on, I would leave work and I would go protest with my cousins.
I want you and Fox News to get out of Baltimore City because you're not here reporting about the boarded up homes and the homeless people under MLK. You're not reporting about the poverty levels up and down North Avenue, but you're here for the black riots that happened.
I didn't know who Geraldo was, except for some little dude with a big mustache disrespecting the scene. Everything that had been bottled up inside of me from before Freddie Gray was released in that moment.
I want the white media out of Baltimore City until y'all are here to report the real story.
You know, once I realized that the cameras had recorded me, I was concerned about what my father was going to think. And so I went home that night. I saw the video, it started trending and trending, and then 3 days later I was fired.
The manner of death, deemed a homicide by the Maryland State Medical Examiner, is believed to be the result of a fatal injury that occurred while Mr. Gray was unrestrained by a seatbelt in the custody of the Baltimore Police Department wagon. We have probable cause to file criminal charges.
There was jubilation in the Baltimore neighborhood where Freddie Gray was killed after the prosecutor announced charges.
This is bigger than Freddie Gray, this is bigger than Trayvon Martin, this is bigger than Eric Garner, this is the way they treat black people in America, man.
Stop trying to make us scared of ISIS when we need to be scared of our own judicial system, because that's our terrorists and our community.
When we see the police, our first objective is not to stand there and get in compliance, it's to run. Like, they chased me, they didn't find the drugs, so they beat me in the head with a gun.
I wish my brother could have ran, but he stopped, he pulled over. He didn't give nobody a chase or anything. He pulled over, had his hands out the window, and was executed on the spot.
A black man don't have nothing in this world, nothing. And that's the end of that.
Today, a judge will decide if the charges against the 6 officers should be dropped, if State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby should be taken off the case.
But once people realized that there were charges, people felt like, what are we protesting for still? We will fight for Freddie Gray. But you know, I knew like I wasn't done. I had a mission. That convictions was to be expected, and Freddie Gray got justice.
What do we want? Justice! And when do we want it? Now!
Police admit they were once caught off guard during the riots, but now they're prepared.
Hey! Ho, ho! These killer cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Those killer cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These killer cops have got to go! I'm not resisting! I'm hurt! Ho, 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 ho! I'm hurt! I'm hurt! I'm hurt! I got hit by a car! Illegal arrest! Illegal arrest!
So we thought it was really important to have the civil disobedience training in the midst of what's about to happen in Baltimore with the start of the Freddie Gray trials. And we just thought it was extremely necessary to have this, especially for students who might be just recently introduced into this. And while I've engaged in acts of civil disobedience, I've never organized one. When I found out that Kwame had gotten arrested, I was extremely frightened just because I felt like stakes were getting higher and that activists were getting arrested for things that weren't necessarily threatening. Protests are symbolic, they're effective, but they're also cathartic and therapeutic for the people who are involved in them. You need to promise that you're going to be ride or die. Well, if you're comfortable with doing that, like you're gonna be ride or die for the people that you're with. Protest truly is the voice of people who are unheard. And protest is not always a passive action, right? Protest is not always marching in the streets, singing Kumbaya, holding hands, being silent and non-disruptive.
We have to stand for our sons because these are our sons and we are sick and tired of being sick and tired of their blood being painted on the street.
So people are worried about like the safety of people who are engaged in this work or trying to get justice for Freddie Gray. It had a lot to do with the way protesters have been treated in the past, the way I was arrested, and more as the story grew bigger, the protests got bigger.
Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake has announced that she plans to make interim commissioner Kevin Davis the new Baltimore City Police Commissioner.
Protesting is not a privilege, Commissioner. Protesting is a right that you have to respect as a servant of the people. And that's all I want to say.
History will one day look specifically back at this very moment in time and identify this year, probably more than any other year, that will serve to define when American policing began to change. It's a challenging time to be a police officer, but it's an exciting time to be a police officer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Till this day, Commissioner Davis has never apologized for how peaceful protesters have been treated, arrested, and are now being prosecuted by the same state's attorney that's supposed to be bringing charges against 6 murderers that killed Freddie Gray.
Mic check. Mic check. My voice will not decide if you become the permanent commissioner for my city. Yet I will be, we will be the unarmed black kids found unconscious in a police van, left dead in the street. No justice, no peace, no racism, no peace. Step up or step down. Step up or step down. Step up or step down.
All right, everybody. So we're locked inside of City Hall right now. They locked the bathrooms. They refused to let us off the balcony unless we're leaving the building. The commissioner still has not returned. We just wanted engagement from Kevin Davis. It wasn't about blocking Kevin Davis. It's more so about like having a conversation so that we know which side Kevin Davis is actually on.
I'm challenging everybody right now to use the power of social media to demand that the commissioner comes.
So, thumbs for are we committed to staying here? Yes, maybe, no. Thumbs?
Yes. To go home?
This has just been the unanimous decision that we're not leaving until Kevin Davis and Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake are with us. Okay.
Protesters are still inside City Hall, refusing to leave. Now, we've confirmed that Kevin Davis is not inside with them.
You all have to leave the building. I don't know. I'm trying.
Is this a warning before arrest?
To see if we. Well,
Good evening. Can I have everybody's attention?
Let her finish talking, because that was very disrespectful to your colleague.
Please. I'm lawfully ordering all of you who are assembled here inside of City Hall to leave the building immediately and peacefully disperse. You shall leave immediately or be subject to arrest.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Black lives matter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Baltimore City has a new top cop. The city council voted 12-2 to confirm Kevin Davis as the new police commissioner for Baltimore City.
It's a exciting time, but it's also a very trying time because I don't know. This is her senior year, and I don't know where things are going to go with regard to the Freddie Gray trial. Last year was a very difficult year. Her grades fell. I was very disappointed because I put you on a path for success, and now you're letting it fall because you're doing all of this work. Education in my book comes first, you know. You know, people always ask me, where did she get this from? And her speaking, she definitely gets from her dad, but I think her spirit, she gets from my brother, her uncle. My brother was on death row for 10 years. I think he was 32 when he was executed. He started doing live interviews from death row. So that's when we became very active, campaigning against the death penalty. And then I became pregnant with Michaela. We had pictures of her in my husband's arms marching. So she was born into that.
Who streets? Who streets?
I always told her that our protest chants, no justice, no peace, were her lullabies. And I said, you march before you could crawl and walk.
Indict, convict, send those killer cops to jail.
I'm always reminded of my uncle's resilience and how even on death row, when he knew that his death was pending and he knew that his death was coming and he even had a date of his death, he was still organizing and he was doing everything with his time that he could. You can go to killedbypolice.net and you can begin to read the names off. We need to recognize and hear all of the names of all of the victims, right? And we need to say their names. We need to feel their spirits. We need to feel their energy and make this a moment where we're committing to ourselves to no longer wait until another name is added to that list. Because we can't afford to lose another baby like Tamir. We can't afford to lose another sister like Sandra. We can't afford any of that.
Darius Smith, Swan Hall, DeAndre Dawes,
William Lemon,
Joseph
Patrick
Jeremiah,
O'Grady,
Jason
Philip Quinn,
Marcel,
Ernesto Lopez,
Eddie Sanchez,
Joseph Camacho,
Antonio
Kenneth
Henry,
Winter Jr.,
Adarius Brown, Linnell S.C.
So, Father God, first and foremost, I want to thank you for the sparing the lives, Father God, of Brittany and Janisa, Father God. But, Father God, our concentration, our focus goes on those, Father God, that were seriously injured, Father God, even ejected from the vehicles, oh God. Where's it hurting?
It's just shaking.
Okay, so just relax. You're gonna be all right. All right? Okay. You know, look, I ain't hard to find if y'all need me. It's my city. Love my city. We're in a community where it's underserved and over-policed. You could be a great cop. You can be a great cop and a successful cop. Probably even more so when you learn how to be respectful to the community. So we're in the Gilmore area, which is where actually Freddie Gray was arrested. That mural went up almost immediately. The Freddie Gray incident wasn't the cause of the uprising. It was just probably that last straw that broke the camel back after decades of crying out. There were a group of individuals who helped us throughout the entire uprising. They wanted to sit down and talk with the commissioner about how we can better work together to see that peace come back around. You are the peacemakers. You're the ones who I've called on in months past, years past, when things were happening and said, we need help. And you have always come through. Some of you don't even know each other. So the common denominator here is me, right? But more importantly, the common denominator here is Baltimore. And so what the commissioners ask is, hypothetically, if something else kicked off, if anything kicked off, are there people that you know that when we get some information, that you can pass that information on to so it doesn't blow up in our face?
It'd be one thing if the uprising and the unrest were behind us. Part of it's behind us, but we got a big front windshield that we're looking out, and there are absolutely expectations that we need to manage in this city. And I don't think the city is doing a good job at managing expectations for these trials. Baltimore This uniform is the most recognizable police department in the country right now. And people are looking at us to see if we can get this right.
A lot of the kids, I'm telling you for a fact, literally sitting around waiting for the next opportunity to go out and do what they think is voicing their frustrations.
We got that. That's good. That's good. We got that, Catalina.
So begin to identify the people that will work in behalf of the people of Baltimore, because we all love our city, and we loved it before it was popular to say you loved it and it was a brand.
Yeah. Why don't we start getting out into the schools right now, having assemblies, and then talk to them about this is your city. You have to value your city. You know, no matter what happens, you still have to live here.
Well, first of all, allow me to apologize because I'm not as well spoken as some of my counterparts. I'm a retired gang member, sir, if there is such a thing. And excuse me for being incredibly frank. You have to treat those officers like people. They should have never had 10 days to discuss their story. Major problem. You have two sides of your city, Chief, and part of your city, they're expecting everybody to walk. Some of them, unfortunately, and I hate to admit it, are waiting for them to walk. Just my opinion.
My selfish interest on behalf of the city right now is surviving this moment, right? We can't get through this without you guys. And I get my cell phone number out to everybody. And I've had people tell me, why you give your cell phone number? But I'll give it to everybody in this room. Now I do that because I know that if you guys didn't care about this city, you wouldn't be in here. If we can't, as a city, get through these 6 trials together with just protests and no violence, we will take 10 giant steps backwards.
Just want to get into treatment as soon as possible.
Okay, what is your drug of choice?
Heroin.
Right. Age of first use?
Of anything?
Of anything.
13. Marijuana.
Next thing.
14. Cocaine.
Wow, how'd you graduate that fast? What was his name?
John.
Awesome. All right. My job is to refer clients, translate, and advocate for clients suffering from dual diagnosis and/or drug abuse. To date, I've sent successfully to treatment 1,785 people. I think maybe 7 to 8 days ago, I just met with the Commissioner Davis, the new dude, and they're trying to help us, first of all, kind of police our own. What we don't want is a repeat of what happened in April.
They really do gotta build a relationship with the community first, because don't nobody in the community trust them.
Right.
Gotta give them something, job, something. Give them something to do, something.
So basically, just let me know what it is you need. You know what I'm saying? Because if we can facilitate this, it create a lot of opportunity for a bunch of different things, mostly for kids, you know what I'm saying, the schools around here. We can reduce the police presence greatly. Hello, Commissioner Davis. This is Jannard Barr, a.k.a. Mr. Shadow. We met a little bit over a week ago. You remember the question, what can we do to prevent a second uprising if the trial does not go quite like we thought? I believe I have an answer for you. I hope this reaches you in peace. And just as a side note, I'll be bugging the hell out of you until I talk to you. Thank you very much, sir.
Jury selection begins in the morning in the trial of the first of the 6 police officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray.
Officer William Porter is accused of involuntary manslaughter, reckless endangerment, and assault.
I always have pride in being a law enforcement officer, but now it's like people don't feel the same way. I'm one of the investigators in the case. So we have the court cases coming up very soon, the start of those, and that's going to be a huge deal for everybody involved. And I don't know exactly when I'll be testifying in that case. I'm just kind of in standby mode. It's discouraging when you just watch people pit races against each other, the community against the police. See, out here you have to kind of pick your poison. You got to pick your poison, you know, what you're going to get engaged in. When you got young black men like this who are just walking around the street aimlessly, you know, they're doing one or two things. They're up to no good or they're selling drugs. And then the next thing you know, you're going to have a shooting, and these are the results. Graveyards, jails. So, you know.
Back in the late 50s and early 60s, Penn North was the cultural center of Baltimore because it was the home, among other things, of numerous jazz clubs. This was the heyday of the black family. We didn't have drugs, we didn't have guns, you didn't see all of these vacant houses. It was an onward, upward kind of feeling about Baltimore. The police were basically foot patrolmen. They knew who the bad kids were in any given family, who the good people were, because they were familiar with the community. Blacks were treated a lot differently after the advent of the motorized squad car. And so instead of walking the beat, the police department in Baltimore went from hotspot to hotspot. They didn't learn the community after that. And then in 1968, when we had the riots, things went downhill from there. Add that to mass incarceration, to mass arrests in the black community. Now we have the destruction of the same black families who were thriving in that part of town.
My father was a cop, useless. The dude my mother married after my father was also a cop. He spent a good 5 years abusing me, and that began the hatred of cops, the ineffective father and the piece of shit stepfather. Around 15 or 16, so I couldn't deal with that anymore, so I left. You know, there's only certain ways a 16-year-old dude is gonna take care of himself. The environment I was stuck in or pushed upon me, or however the hell you want to put that, turned me into something else for the means of survival. I don't want my kids to be turned into anything. I want my kids to grow up to be my kids.
Hey, Shadow. Hey, man. How are you?
How you doing?
Sorry I'm late. You good?
Nah, actually, it's worked out that
You
you
good? Hey, how are you? Kevin Davis. You know, why this year and why right now and why post April, May is everything off the chain?
You know, when you're in a situation where you have 7,000 people and 300 jobs, things can be out of control. And then on our side, 7, 8 generations of fatherless boys. And the only time we ever see y'all is y'all taking our fathers from us. That's why.
And it just bubbled here.
There are no recreation centers. There's nothing for kids to do. There's nothing here.
We are so angry and so upset. We sit here and we have nothing to do, so we agitating each other. And then we have the cops on top of our backs.
Some of these dudes, y'all done seen these cats strip search people in the street. If you ever try to put your finger in my ass, talking about something you want to search for some drugs, I don't give a fuck whether you got a badge or not. I'm gonna stab him in his neck.
I'm sorry that law enforcement in this community is like this.
If you want to make a change now, I don't know who or how we have to do it. Because
you do a lot.
Please let me finish.
You do a lot.
No, please let me finish. Please let me finish. Okay. I went through shit that I should not have to. I'm not even supposed to be sitting here. I got a bullet wound in my head, Chief. And that will not happen to my children. Do you understand? This will not happen to my children. I will die doing this. Okay?
Your pain's not my pain. I've never lived your life, but that's still
Excuse me.
doesn't mean that
That won't happen to my children. I promise you, I have an army of
I feel
like-minded
your pain.
individuals, but they're afraid of you all. And until
that
they
break-
stop
that
being,
break- that breaks my heart.
And until they stop being afraid of you all, it's gonna seem like I'm doing it by myself. Here's the deal.
What do they want?
Jobs.
Need jobs. Jobs. Need them.
Can I be an advocate for jobs? Yes. Can I go over and stand in City Hall and jump up and down? Yes. And will I? Yes. But you know, my personal ability as a police commissioner to create jobs is what? For this moment in time, I got the bully pulpit, and I'll stand up with you and go to whoever those people are who can make change. I'll do that. But I need you to promise me that we're not going to have what we had in April and May. And can you deliver that?
Yeah. To the best of my ability.
This is the problem that we're having with, the guys in the fraternity and guys, they are worried about if we take this step, we all take this step with us, because then they don't want to look like fools, and they don't want any backlash.
I don't want to look like a fool either.
It's time for us to stand together.
Give me a couple, test me then, test the waters. Give me a couple things you want me to do.
Just an
We've been
hour.
talking about it all year, bro.
A football game, a
We
basketball
want the
game.
football game, man. We want to play ball. But you get what I'm saying? Like, just like we playing cops and robbers, we was kids. Let's put on some pads, get you, because there's a lot of athletes out here, Chief.
Like,
I can still run.
All right, I can't.
We're about to go meet up with my attorney. I'm not taking no charges, I'm not taking no conviction. But I also want to send a message like this is not about to keep happening to protesters who haven't broken the law and have only been exercising their First Amendment right.
You are on the scene, they're going to come to you because, for good or for bad, you are seen as the leader of the movement.
I'm like the only protester facing like serious jail time. I'm the most visible person.
Arrest is the last resort, and that was a citable offense.
Correct.
Right. So the only reason, from my experience, that somebody in command would make an arrest if it's pre-planned.
Where would that directive come from your experience when you were there?
It's going to come from command. It's not going to come from. It's going to come from somebody that is a captain or above, somebody that's in what they call command staff.
The perception that you have nothing to lose, that's a scary thing for people who got a whole lot to lose. So that's the threat you pose, whether you mean to express that threat or not, to the establishment, that's what you represent.
This is my last one, I swear. For today. I don't get why they're picking this bone so hard.
But that is why they're picking the bone.
Yeah.
So they can hold you back during the whole next, I don't know, what's this going to be? 6 months, 7 months?
I am still going to protest.
What
I'm still going to be out here before my case.
Well, it's your constitutional right to protest.
Yeah, well, I don't get those rights.
We have heard closing arguments in the final phase of the Officer William Porter trial. Right now, the prosecution has wrapped up its portion of closing arguments.
Prosecutors contend Porter is criminally negligent because he didn't call a medic when Gray requested one, and he didn't buckle Gray into a seatbelt.
Have you ever been inside of a police van?
I'm like this, right? Now you got a back door here. Now, if she has this much room, because remember, you have a wall here that divides both sides of the wagon. So what can I do to her from here? I could kick her, I could punch her,
I'm over
I could
here,
spit on her,
and
I
I'm
can do
trying
this.
I'm not going to put myself through that because when I get injured, first of all, the city's not going to want to take care of me.
Yeah, we had the gentleman that came here. He took 6 guys to try to get him out of the cell, and he said, "You're going to have to Freddie Gray me out of this motherfucker because I'm not walking him on 2 feet."
It puts everybody at risk.
It's crazy.
Right now, since April, the community, the command, the government, the media has effectively erased the blue line that protected all of these people. And the result is, a record year, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
Well, the death of Freddie Gray has put a glaring spotlight on Baltimore and his police force.
In the months since Gray's death, arrests in Baltimore have plunged. Murderers have actually surged.
After the uprising in Baltimore City, I talked to the police in West Baltimore. They were saying, Colonel, can we keep it real? We're tired of getting out of the cars. We gotta keep looking over our heads and ducking bottles and dirty diapers and all this crap. And we just want to do our job. When we make a legitimate good arrest, all the cameras come, wham, in our face. And just hatred being spewed. Colonel, that hurts. Facts speak for themselves. And I understand it. We stop policing.
We carry our children, we feed them, we do all the right things for them. And then one day we wake up and get a phone call and said, Miss Austin, homicide is coming, they want to talk to you. My husband went to the scene and there was our 22-year-old son at a black party with his brains blown out.
They say black don't crack. Shit, my brother sent me a picture he took of a guy laying on the concrete with his top peeled back, like a convertible Honda. We praying for mamas. Our kids are going to paradise. No, not the Bahamas.
You guys know Petey? Here, I want y'all to take some of these. I want y'all to take some of these flyers. Because y'all is friends, right? Back in my day, if something like this happened down here, those people who this was intended for, they wouldn't even be allowed to even stand on the corner again until they did the right thing for this family.
Wow.
You got people dying in neighborhoods where they grew up at, and people say absolutely nothing. Thinking back to all the memories I had as a child, thinking about all the other families falling apart. I don't think a child should ever have to go through what I went through. You had the Stanfields who ran this entire area out here. They always used my house. It's like the stash house. So we'd be in there sleeping with guns. Every guy in that house, every guy in that organization was a pedophile. None of them could keep their hands to themselves, and I'd get in trouble because I would open up one of their packs, and they always had liquor and different stuff. So I would take a bunch of heroin and pour it in a cup and pour alcohol in it. And I'd sit there and think, if I drink this, how fast would I die? And I used to play with the guns. I'd pick it up, look at it, and figure, then I would sit there and think, this is gonna make a mess. How are they gonna fight? I'm not even gonna die. I'm gonna still be right back here. And I was, 15 years old.
So if you had a chance to play football against the police, what would you do?
Well, play my heart out.
I'm saying
police. Against the police? Yeah, I would definitely catch a few unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalties. I would definitely.
So here go the deal.
The only time we see the police officers when they point guns at me and calling me a dickhead or asshole or some shit like that, shooting some unarmed dude. How can I treat you like a person when you never act like one? And how do I get you to do that in a neighborhood you don't live in? What better do you know to do that than football?
Oh, I know I should have bought my cleats today.
On one side, you have people and kids from out of the community, the normals. Then you have gang members and whoever else, and they all playing together on the same team against the police.
What's up, man? Hold up, fellas, come here, for real. Last time, I swear, come here.
The gentleman standing behind me, Lieutenant Colonel, brother, ain't all bad. Please remember that when we get all this incidental contact. You got Bloods and Crips, don't fucking like each other on one fucking team. Motherfuckers was fighting this shit in the alleyways like a week ago.
Maybe about 10 of those guys I see on a daily basis, and sometimes it's not in a positive light. So to do something like this, it really changes the relationship.
This is what the truth looks like. There's every set in the city right now. Gonna play a game against the last people we want to be playing with.
All we asking for them to be
more considerate. We are human beings too, you feel what I'm saying? They bleed just like us. They live just like us.
I'm looking around, see all these police out here. Why they couldn't leave their guns and handcuffs in the car? We out here playing football. I still feel nervous, man. Like,
whether the city is here in the stands today or not, it doesn't matter. The city's watching us. The city's watching the police, as they should be. But if we can't do this, who's going to do it? Nobody's going to do it.
1, 2, 3. Let's play ball, guys. Let's play ball. All right.
It's flag football. Calm down a little bit, all right?
Look at this. Look at this. That is a bad play. Bad play.
Beat you if you don't jump. He's going deep.
He ain't putting no hands on him. He let him get past him. It's all right.
If we lose, everybody on foot for a week. I'm serious, straight up. All right, where's the ball?
We got females on the field. I'm going to say it out loud. Let the flag be the only thing you grab. Y'all right there.
That's right.
First of all, we wouldn't even want it if it wasn't for y'all. So round of applause for my youngsters. All right? Come on, let's get group pictures. Okay, my front row right here, take a knee like you know, football pose. When I say one city, you say one purpose. One city, one purpose. I love it.
I don't understand why you just won't. Can you take a plea deal?
Do you think I did something wrong?
Yes. You had a blowhorn at the courthouse.
You know, I think I was targeted.
You were.
With the megaphone out front of the courthouse.
When did that become against the law?
It's a nuisance. They're conducting business inside.
I had the bullhorn out there for 3 days.
Okay. And after a while, they got tired of it.
Y'all haven't accepted me for being me.
We want you to look at the long term. What happens when...
I don't think about long term. You know, I don't really, like, have a longing for, like, material possessions.
Okay.
I'm content.
You're homeless.
What?
You're homeless.
I am not. I'm
you
not
are.
looking for a home. You're broke.
Yes, you have no money. You're broke.
Give me a loan.
No. The goal is to make the bird fly.
I'm looking for somebody to love me.
We love you, but you can't stay in my basement.
No, love me the way I'm looking for. These are my parents.
Who trying to teach you
It's
responsibility.
reality, baby.
I don't want responsibility.
Exactly.
In Baltimore, residents and officials are anxiously awaiting a verdict in the first trial in the death of Freddie Gray. And the head of the city's public schools has issued a letter to the community, warning students that walkouts and any form of violence are not acceptable.
So today we received a letter from Dr. Thornton, the CEO of the Baltimore State Public School System, regarding the upcoming verdict. While we appreciate the school board's effort to keep students safe.
You should say the school board's newfound effort.
That's shady. That's shady.
What action are you all planning?
We're planning an emergency student walkout if the verdict comes during the school day.
So you all are planning a walkout with the letter in mind that says that consequences will occur as a result of a walkout?
Yep.
You can't afford another arrest.
They can't make arrests until they give 3 warnings.
They can shoot you and kill you without giving you a warning. So why do you trust that they are going to give you 3 warnings? And once again, here we are, not doing what you're supposed to be doing because everything is so much more important than Michaela.
Do you want me to ask them to leave now?
It's not about, I'm talking about you. At what point are we going to start what we plan to do today?
When we finish this.
When is that?
Mom, I just said I don't know.
And when is the deadline?
I sent you all the deadlines. They're not until January.
Everybody in there have applied for college, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. 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 Okay.
So the idea is this: when the riots happened, it turned into a free-for-all, and every major media outlet possible had a field day with it. Of course, they're doing their job, but now that they've gotten to tell their story, now we get to let the bastard stepchild of America, which is Baltimore City, tell its story. We do not want to be known as savages. We do not want to be known as animals. We want to be known as a community in which we just live in a community. My proposal is a non-denominational thing, and excuse my hands being held behind my back, but I'm extremely nervous because I've never actually done this. So,
you're doing good.
You can sit forward if you like, brother.
He need a hug. He need a hug.
All right. What I have planned is to have the various elements of society, police, gang members, clergy, Muslims, whoever, pray for our city together, regardless of the verdict.
I'll disclose this. We'll probably have like an hour notice. Advance notice. That's a real small window. As soon as I get notice, I'm hitting my man.
So you're saying we would be on the ground as the verdict is being disclosed?
As the verdict is being read.
Ideally, before it comes out, we're already out.
I got you.
Because we know it's coming.
Got you.
I would just like to say it's humbling, it's encouraging, and I will be there whenever you guys say we need to move.
There were some eyebrows raised across this city when word got out and some pictures surfaced of outside police law enforcement agencies assembling riot gear and things of that sort at Druid Hill Park here in Baltimore.
You think they really gonna turn up if he get off? Like the whole city, you think it's gonna be like how it was last time? If he get off?
I think it's gonna be protests, yeah, but I don't think people gonna burn shit down.
To be honest, I hope it's not another riot for real. Like, I don't know, yo.
You know when the verdict coming? The verdict, you know when it's coming?
I don't know.
No racism! Police! No justice!
No peace!
No racism!
Police!
And back! Come back! Send these contacts to jail! The whole damn system is guilty as hell!
We have just confirmed that a mistrial has been declared in the case of Freddie Gray, the case against William Porter's police officer, one of several police officers accused of killing Freddie Gray.
Your reaction now to the judge's declaration of a mistrial?
I mean, a mistrial is short as a miscarriage of justice.
We need justice now, not tomorrow. So we got to go through this 5 more times?
This is the system working. It's not supposed to convict one of its own.
The evidence was there. What more do you need to know? A man was killed in police custody.
So what happens now?
We shut the city down, we continue to march and demand for justice. We continue to make our voices heard, and we continue to let the world know that Baltimore will be the place where justice is served for the lives of black people who were killed in our presence of police.
I do think ultimately we have to focus on how to get the structural changes necessary so that way we can prevent these types of trials from having to happen in the first place.
Let's move away from them. I think they're following.
We do not have to displace this is public property. Those with badges is all our laws. There are no riots. We have not been violent. We are being peaceful. When did this become unlawful?
What the man? Come here.
Wait,
come here.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
He didn't do anything! Sir, why did they arrest you?
I don't know.
Step back, step back, step back, step back.
Get out the way. Move it, boy. Out of the way. Breathe, woman, love. Breathe. Fuck all y'all.
No, Mom, I'm protecting my colleagues that are protesting, not protesting. Yes, Mom. I'm fine. I'm not going to get arrested.
I was standing over here, and all of a sudden you see a swarm of the sheriff deputies, and then they arrested him in here. That's why they're standing out here. I'm trying to get this gentleman's name, though, because he threatened me, so. What's your name? Could I have your name, please? What is your name? You have to give me your name. You're a public servant. What is your name? Who's your ranking officer? Who's like the sergeant? Who's the lieutenant? Who's here? You don't know who you fucking with. What's up, yo? You all right? You know Kwame got arrested, right?
Jason, are you still representing Kwame? He just got arrested, which is why I'm calling you. I wish I was kidding.
Is that?
Well,
he was on probation.
And we are from one city with what?
One purpose!
One city?
One purpose!
One city?
One purpose!
Again, who knows the serenity prayer?
That was the prayer we chose. However, if you have a private prayer that you would like to say, or you just so happen to be Muslim and you want to make salat, or you just so happen to be Jewish and you want to, you know what I mean, however that works.
We got more people, excuse me, on the news saying that the tensions are high. Does anybody here feel tense?
No.
Are we sure?
Yes.
We're not gonna go looting like tomorrow because of whatever, right?
No.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah!
Loud!
Come on!
God!
To accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the good in it. Lord, grant me serenity to accept the
Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Yes, God. Hallelujah.
We're gonna let the devil know that guess what? We're gonna take our streets back. Amen. Amen. And unity. We're gonna have unity in Baltimore City. Amen.
We pray right now in the name of Jesus, Lord God, that you bring peace and love, Lord God, and kindness, Lord God, in the name of Jesus.
Lord God, go beyond race and politics, oh God. Lord God, we pray and ask that you would go into the hearts of people, oh God. Lord God, and get at the root of it, Lord God, the sin, Lord God.
What God does is indescribable. There's not a drug on earth that can get you high than Jesus.
City leaders and police officers stood shoulder to shoulder with neighbors at Penn and North Tuesday night, just steps from the CVS store that was looted and burned during the unrest in April. They're linked by a shared disappointment over what happened and a hope that it won't happen again.
You're activists, this is where you need to be at. This is real activism right here. It ain't just about going out and marching every day.
Oh, yeah. Freedom! We don't need him!
Are y'all serious? Y'all let this man walk in the court with no shackles on him, but when we get locked up, y'all beat us up, tighten the cuffs off our wrists. Do you know how that shit feels? That is not a pretty, it ain't nothing. This city doesn't have nothing. We don't have nothing to do. I'm 17 smoking cigarettes. Why? Because I'm stressed every day that I'm gonna die. It's either I'm scared that I'm gonna die by a straight bullet or a cop killer like Porter.
Tell me what democracy looks like! Tell me what democracy looks like!
I generally get frustrated with the way that people get sucked into the theater of the actual trial. The trial kind of represents the little bit of justice that people want. It's really the least amount of justice that one could ask for.
But the biggest deterrent to abuse is power. You know, if an officer knows that they will get sent to jail or have some severe consequences, or if the department knows that, they're going to behave differently.
Unfortunately, people miss the point of the importance of studying our condition, our people, that the purpose is to take what our folks have discovered and learn about ourselves and our condition and take it a step further. Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, we call it LBS for short, was founded in 2010. Many of us are former high school and college policy debaters. So we wanted to form an organization that was the public policy arm of the community.
The strength and power of the organizing work that we do is that we're always thinking about the future and passing it on to young folks. So people like Kwame and Michaela are emboldened to achieve what they can achieve and to do what they do because we decided to pass that kind of knowledge and passion on to them. And so it's our view that that's what we need to do to empower Black people in the city, to pass on knowledge, wisdom, and skills that could take them into the future.
So what we're trying to do is reform what's called the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights. And that was codified back in 1974. Basically, what it does is that it gives police officers in Maryland protections above and beyond their constitutional rights. Give you a couple of examples. So let's say a police officer has been alleged to have engaged in excessive force, so they fatally beat somebody up. There's a trial board that determines whether they get fired or not, whether they get suspended. That trial board is made up of other police officers, right? So one of the elements we would try to change is to make it so that a non-police officers on that trial board. If someone's investigating that incident, only sworn law enforcement can interrogate that police officer. Our opposition is the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, the union that represents and supports the police. And to the FOP, all these amendments are non-starters.
How do you feel about the climate of Baltimore right now?
I feel like everybody is holding their breath and has been since the trial started. It didn't end in a cathartic moment that we needed. A mistrial, we don't know what to do with that emotionally. Can I read you my essay now? Does that work?
Yeah, you can read while I'm decorating.
So the question is, discuss an accomplishment or event, formal or informal, that marked your transition from childhood to adulthood within your culture, community, or family. With each of my first breaths on this earth, I was denuded of my innocence and the purity of my childhood. Even despite my mother's strenuous effort to protect my sisters and me from the cruelty around us, despite the strength and resilience that we inherited from her, despite the beautiful memories.
Okay, wait. This essay sounds like
Can I just get through you didn't even listen to the rest of the essay.
Can I finish speaking? Oh my God. It sounds like you have been fighting all your life.
Mom.
Michaela, it sounds like you have been fighting all your life, like you were born into this struggle and
what do I say? You didn't have a childhood. Can you listen to the sentence?
You had a very, very good childhood.
Mom, you didn't listen to the rest of the sentence.
Go ahead.
Despite her success in creating facade of safety for us.
Facade of safety? Really? Facade of safety?
Yes, Mom. Can you let me finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Oh my God. Despite the strength and resilience that we inherited from her, despite the beautiful memories she crafted for us, there remain the unflinching reminders of our body's fungibility.
It's a very well-written essay.
But
it sounds like you were born into this struggle. You didn't have a good childhood. You didn't live. I don't like the tone of it because it just doesn't. It's not your reality. And I think you and I this has not been a good year for us at all. You can roll your eyes all you want.
Oh my God.
It has not been a good year for us at all. Because I grow increasingly more frustrated with you, and you grow just as frustrated with me.
I think there are ways that protests can become counterproductive when there are not specific policy items that are at play. And it's really important that if that's the case, that people are being conscious about the time and energy and cost.
So we're gonna take, I think it's about 15 neighborhoods.
In my opinion, it would be smarter just to have everybody down in like the Inner Harbor.
They will lock up people who are disrupting white folks' commercial activity. Especially on New Year's Eve.
The police ain't just gonna attack people on New Year's Eve.
You don't think the police are going to attack people? Stop there.
That's not what I meant. So if they see
and you're
positive,
giving them more reason.
No, but if they see positive people, then they're gonna stand up.
Positive? What's positive? Black Lives Matter isn't positive. Marching with your fist isn't positive.
It is positive to me.
To them, it's not positive.
But the young people.
So Kwame
content. I want April part 2.
If they no, I don't want. I'm talking about doing it more like, yo, like come, like do this with us.
And my thing is the police are already tripping. So if you go down there on some Black Lives Matter, you know, whatever, you marching in the streets, they're gonna be doubly tripping. And whoever else is caught in the crossfire, if they like halfway holler, yeah, Black Lives Matter, and like throw some shit at the police, then you responsible for them. And now you gotta worry about
and
their
then
safety.
it's inciting a riot.
I ain't getting arrested.
If you got marching, you're getting arrested.
I don't think you realize that you got arrested for telling people to stay on the sidewalk.
I'm just saying, you're gonna be responsible for that whole thing.
Next.
Look at God. Okay.
Next.
So back to what we were doing previously.
So also, like I said, when the ball drop, we want to have like three to four people actually down there throwing the leaflets up.
And then the pamphlets will simultaneously being released in Harbor East, in Fells Point, etc.
Right. If you want to do it, but don't worry about our people saying the shit. You need to hit the core where all the white people gonna be at.
We're not doing anything that is hurting us by attempting to educate our own people.
I understand that it was a waste of time. A lot of people in the community, they not gonna give a fuck. As soon as they hear Black Lives Matter, they not gonna care. All these different movements, and Gilmore's still fucked up. They don't care about none of that Black Lives Matter and none of that. People have to believe, and this the thing is, nobody in Baltimore believes.
So tonight, our crew is going around the city setting up like hood vigils in predominantly white areas. I have at least some idea what it means when we say Black Lives Matter because I know what Black death feels like. Like I had a bracket of like 6 months where it's like every day I was trying to figure out a different way to kill myself. At the time when my like anxiety and depression started to like manifest itself, but I wasn't an organizer, I was just an advocate, not even an activist. I started to feel like, well, maybe I'm not worth it. What change can I really make? And so I sat in a room and I was crying hysterically. And I had all of these pills, which I had been carrying around with me for a few weeks by then. I knew that it wasn't going to be an immediate death by any means, but it's like, as long as I die, because I can't do anything with this life that I've been given. I now know my importance and I now know my worth. And so like that's why this movement has taken on so much more meaning for me.
Happy New Year!
Here, can you pass this down to my friend? Thank you.
People are like, ooh, fuck Black Lives. There are fireworks.
Take that down.
What law is it again?
I'm just telling you, you have to take it down.
Yo, no, you can't like take shit.
If you don't calm down, you can be locked up for disorderly conduct.
Is that not disorderly conduct? You taking my shit? Give me the law that I'm breaking by holding a banner.
Okay. I don't have an answer, but you can't put that up there. That's what I like.
I'm not an organizer. I wasn't a protester before any of this happened. I'm learning as I go. So, you know, I went from making minimum $50,000, $60,000 a year to like now being dead broke. And I'm still out here trying to front to be the face of the people. Like, nah, I'm good, I'm all good.
And yo,
If people on the street, it ain't no people out there willing to get arrested. I done been arrested twice, and that's more
All right,
times
so
than
at
anybody
the end of the day, everybody know what Kwame stand for, so why get locked up anymore? If people not gonna ride with you.
But this last time, though, they ain't do nothing.
Let me tell you something as a mother, and because I'm his mother. My concern for you is that you're 21. You got a whole lot of living to do. Whoever you praise, God be willing. You got a whole lot to live. Don't ruin your future with that bullshit. Keep getting locked up. I know what you're trying to do, but I want you to be smart, not just for Baltimore, but for Kwame.
Last few hours of 2015, Baltimore's homicide rate climbed to 344.
Baltimore's murder rate is the highest per capita in the city's history, and the past few days have been very bloody.
So we got another shooting working on the east side.
You know, for the third time in my career, I find myself leading a police department through a crisis. It's a crisis of unrest and community trust and violence.
How far is the scene?
Right where the squad car is.
All right, I'll go over.
Hey, Sarge.
Okay.
I'll walk. I'll drive around.
Be careful.
All right.
Be careful of what? For the police. The unfettered access to guns in America is one of the curses of this country. This country was a much different place when the Second Amendment was introduced.
Blood trail goes down the street. The victim's found face down. Looks like shot in the back, and the head. No cameras that work. At the end of the day, it's someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's mother, brother, sister who's been killed. So this ripple goes out, and then if we make an arrest, that suspect, his family's affected by it. People who live in the neighborhood are affected by it, obviously. So it's just that never-ending cycle that I don't know what you do, but something's got to be done.
Here, let me do this.
This must be that graze wound they were talking about on the arm.
We had so many murders from last year. It's just been a nightmare dealing with it all. So you're basically sitting here waiting for the body to drop.
Well, a second trial in the death of Freddie Gray is set to begin this week. Edward Nero, unlike Officer William Porter, is charged with misdemeanors.
There's also a new push for more police accountability in Maryland.
Yeah, the police accountability bill is making its way through both chambers in the Capitol.
There are some elements in that police accountability bill that both sides have agreed on, but there's been no agreement on that civilian to trial board proposal.
When we first started our work around the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, and one of the central parts of it that we felt was most important to change is civilian participation on the trial boards. These are the boards to determine discipline for police officers accused of wrongdoing. Because before that, it was exclusively law enforcement that served on those boards. I think our success is that we've been able to drive the conversation so that this issue of civilians on the trial board became such a central issue.
We would not be here today if it were not for the brothers and sisters in Baltimore who rose up in an insurrectionary mode to challenge the police department there. That uprising is what finally got them to consider that maybe we should do some legislative initiatives.
I gotta disagree with the transparency point. I mean, I don't think that giving a law enforcement officer 10 days to get their story together, to gather information, to gather facts is transparent.
If he committed a crime, he could sit back and say, I'm not saying anything.
But the officer has the same right because he has a Fifth Amendment right. And if he says no, he then can say, hey, I want a lawyer just like this citizen.
But the difference is this citizen is not going to walk out. If you think you have probable cause, he's not going to walk out this police station. The officer is.
Well,
that's the difference.
Now, the thing about it is that's an extremely broad stroke again, because you're talking about all cases where an officer may have been accused of something.
So I'm a retired homicide detective. You can't run games around me.
Law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights in this state protects officers when they fail to protect us, creating barriers to gaining access to information, prohibiting interrogation. Even if somebody's blood has been painted on the pavement, the officer caught red-handed cannot be demanded to make a statement for 10 whole days. God created the heavens and the earth in less.
There is no problem that the LEOBR works, has worked, continues to work, and we feel remiss to be here today.
I was a bit taken aback by your initial comment. I don't know what the problem is exactly, but it's very clear, I think, to virtually everybody, there is a problem.
I've heard very clearly from my constituents. They feel that officers are playing by a different set of rules.
We know that we can't honestly have community policing if we don't have community members have an ability to be engaged in the process at every level.
You know, I think a lot of the conversation has been around community police relations. And I think this framework is a problematic framework in thinking about what the issue is, because we're not talking about community police relations. We're talking about the ability for civilians to work collaboratively on an equal playing field in the industry of law enforcement. And citizens have a right to be able to have substantive say in the nature of how law enforcement is administered in their communities.
We don't need that. We're opposed to citizens judging police officers on a basis of misconduct. Understanding the law is not the issue. It's understanding the job.
What happened, Kondo? A car had, a car spent the bend, a nigga jumped out, shot it up.
Melvin Russell is the first and only cop I have ever trusted. He asked me if I could do anything to help him with the murder rate. I'm like, I can't do the police job for him, but what I can do is keep the people who haven't done anything out of the line of fire.
Okay, got it. Don't mind. All right, cool. Here, take that with you. Just don't run away. Just put it in your pocket, son.
Uh-huh. If I can get the police to lay off on my boys, all of them, and get these dudes to put their guns down, the murder rate goes down, more jobs are created, a lot of things happen.
So good afternoon, family. Let me just say this. I am very excited about this component of what we do in Community Collaboration Division, right? And that is being the bridge between the ex-offender and the jobs that are out there. And so our next stop is in West Baltimore, and we're gonna set up shop in that Sandtown, Winchester, Gilmore community.
One city.
One purpose.
One city.
One purpose.
One city.
One purpose.
We starting a job program around the neighborhood of convicted felons, at-risk youth, gang affiliated, just got out of jail, all that. Okay. We trying to plug dudes back in, but whoever you see in the program that's interested in going, remember, felons, mostly the felons, people trying to get some work.
I got 5 of those.
Yeah,
Right.
so you know who I'm talking about. Contrary to popular belief, man, like I get off of work at 4 o'clock. Me and the brother be out doing this till like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night sometimes on a daily basis.
We do this on a daily.
A lot of people think this is my actual job, so.
This is not a game. This is not for anybody to try another system and still have one foot out there and one foot in here. This is for those that are serious.
You're going to be trained at something that most people have to go to school 5 and 6 years for. Because nobody outside of us believes in us.
Decisive not guilty verdict in the high-profile trial of Officer Edward Nero. Tonight, Officer Nero is a free man after a judge cleared him of all charges in the arrest and subsequent death of Freddie Gray.
The judge wouldn't even convict him on misdemeanor charges. And I felt as though he's not going to convict them anyway because he's one of them.
There are a lot of people here on the streets that are quite upset with this acquittal, quite upset that as of now, nobody has been punished for the death of Freddie Gray.
Motherfuckers want to gather around here because a man was found not guilty, man. Get the fuck out of here, man.
There's a whole city full of fucking shit going on right now, y'all on this corner.
Right.
Somebody getting killed.
Because somebody's gonna be...
That's where the news at. Ain't shit happening over here. There's nothing happening here. As long as y'all here in this capacity, you are bringing the wrong kind of attention. That's my job. You're welcome.
It's a simple no justice, no peace. Serial killer police. No justice, no peace. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose city? Our city. Whose city? Our city. Whose state? Our state.
The protest makes an impact in the community, but I feel like there's no concrete strategy attached to it. Like, the visual is there. People are being engaged in a political process, but that political process isn't being used to anything greater than just this people standing on a corner.
Like, this type of environment is what, like lets a lot of people know that that's not right, because people just numb to it. So they don't.
No, it does something. I'm just saying it's not the most productive option. This protest is gonna happen, it's gonna disperse, and that's gonna be it.
The work is so hard because a lot of people expect all of these organizers to be the heroes and the leaders who are going to lead us out of this, right? And it's like, we need to be shutting that narrative down as well, because it's like, that whole leadership complex is both really troubling for the person who is told that they need to be the leader, but it's also troubling for the community because it places all of the responsibility on one person when it needs to be a collective effort. Activism as a young person has just been so draining for me. And so just like my whole being needs healing. And I just need a break, really.
What's the format of the meeting? Are we eating in that time?
So, Michaela, you called the family meeting. You tell.
Okay, so like, I've been thinking that I want to take a gap year after I graduate. Period.
No.
No. Well, that's the end of the meeting. You have been so busy that you can't even get it together. I think what our concern is, one gap year may end up being 10 gap years.
I feel a bit conflicted because it's not what I had planned for you.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, it's not what I thought you had planned for you.
Right.
The gap year can be productive or can be destructive, depending on how you utilize your time. Because if you're going to utilize your time doing everything for everybody but Michaela.
But like, I'm going to make my checkpoints known to the people in this room. And so part of this meeting is like me asking that you all serve as like the people who hold me accountable to that.
If you feel honest within yourself that you're taking this year off to actually do stuff to get better within yourself, then I'm all for it.
You're gonna do what you want to do anyway, so God bless you.
I knew you had skills when you called the police on your mom.
She was about 2 or 3. I went downstairs and she was upstairs watching television. And the phone rang and I answered it. And I said, hello. And they said, did someone call 911? I said, no. So I went upstairs. I said, did you use the phone? She said, yes, ma'am. I said, who did you call? She said, you said if someone hurt me to call 911. She said, you hurt me when you were combing my hair, so I called. 3 years old, I should have known they would be held to pay raising this girl.
But justice is justice.
No justice, no peace. So I called.
It's weird, you know, this is my first trial. Wish that my family was like more supportive.
So I contacted the ACLU because I didn't have the money to pay for my own private attorney this time.
Not a good judge to go for. Which is why I started freaking out, came outside to smoke a cigarette.
The entire time we had this trial,
no group paid my bills. No group paid my bail funds. No group helped me out. No activist group.
All right, wish me luck. Good luck, brother.
So you guys have heard the verdict. Judge found our client, Mr. Roseborough, not guilty of 3 counts and guilty of 1 count. We totally disagree with the court's decision that he's guilty of anything.
Well, the trial for one of the 6 officers involved in the arrest of Freddie Gray starts today in Baltimore.
Officer Cesar Goodson faces second-degree depraved heart murder charges and several others.
It's hard to feel like a woman in this job sometimes, especially trying to be beautiful at all. You try to take your emotions out of a case, but it's impossible. I'm always nervous going into a trial. Testimony is one of the most stressful times in your career because everything at that point falls on you. I don't want you to be worried about what other people are gonna say, what other people are gonna think. You know, I'm gonna be your mom forever, and what people out there think doesn't even matter. You know? Just feeling anxious about going in there, and it's such a huge moment for everyone. You know, I've gotten death threats and people threatening to hurt my kids. As a lead detective in a case, my job was to go back over everything as a homicide investigator with a fine-tooth comb. And I guess that's why I felt so gut-wrenchingly, torn when the charges were brought, because I know every detail of the case. It was a freak accident. I've been trying to pull up on my phone. I can't get it. I think it's not coming up.
Getting stories of 30 juveniles along Brad Street towards Subway.
Anything? God, I missed it. Oh, damn it. Come on. I'll be on me.
Not guilty on all.
Oh.
We continue to follow breaking news of the trial of Officer Cesar Goodson, where he was just acquitted on 7 charges.
Yes. One of 6 officers charged in connection with the arrest and death.
Thank God.
He has been found not guilty.
Is the signal up here? Because mine not working right either. With the one in the
Could people have been more vigilant in the transport and everything? Definitely. Could people have been paying more attention? Definitely. But as far as across the country, police brutality and stuff, this wasn't the case.
Just look at all of this bullshit. Infants.
The judge, who is within his right, has made it clear that he doesn't agree with the state's theory of the case and does not believe that any of the actions or inactions of these officers rise to the level of criminality. We do not believe that Freddie Gray killed himself. However, after much thought and prayer, it has become clear to me that without being able to work with an independent investigatory agency from the very start, without real substantive reforms to the current criminal justice system, we could try this case 100 times in cases just like it, and we would still end up with the same result. Accordingly, I have decided not to proceed on the cases against Officer Garrett, Sergeant Alicia White, or to relitigate the case against William Porter.
We have no business in this place. It is time to leave. It is time to leave and take all of our beautiful creations with us. It is time to sue these motherfuckers for the appropriation of everything cool, from fucking cornrows to rap music. Fuck it. Every form of popular music on planet Earth was built by us, so sue their ass for it, get the money, and get the fuck out of here. Take the light bulbs with you, because we did that too. And the traffic light, we did that too. And peanut butter and rope. This shit is either gonna turn really, 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 really bad, really fast, or it's going to be hundreds of years of the same, and either way, I fucking refuse.
The Justice Department has released a scathing report on the Baltimore Police Department, which found routine discrimination towards African Americans, rampant use of excessive force, all without proper accountability for misconduct.
Representatives from the Department of Justice are here and they are listening. If you haven't read the report, you must read the report. Why? Because I've read a few of these, and this is pretty much the worst I've ever read.
One gentleman, over 50 years old, African American, was stopped more than 30 times during the 5-year period that we looked at. That makes us very concerned that those stops were not on the basis of reasonable suspicion, but instead were being done under unconstitutional grounds. We want the police and the community to work together, and we need to try and start rebuilding that relationship.
The last time I checked, the DOJ is a part of the system. It's the DOJ, it's the FOP, and it's our elected officials. And we, as citizens, are not there at the table as that thing is being negotiated.
My suggestion for solutions to the DOJ is that none of these reforms and band-aids that are gonna happen should give more money to the Baltimore City Police Department.
Let me say this. I'm begging you to work with this process. This is the only one we got.
We met with you, Congressman. We told you what was going on in this city. People in this room should be ashamed of yourself.
Because we here tonight giving y'all our big fat I told you so's. So go back and hold all of these entities accountable, because you cannot do it just with the police.
Law enforcement, police department, we shoulder all the woes of society. So I think when the rest of government and the rest of society realizes their role in public safety, that's where housing, employment, education comes into play. Because if folks are waiting for the police departments of America to do it, they're going to be out of luck.
I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged about Baltimore. There's been a great awakening, especially with the DOJ coming in. This will sound very odd, but it almost took this uprising to wake us up.
I won't say nothing came out of this. There are changes in the police force. New protocol was made all because of the death of Freddie. So I don't think his death was a waste. I think Freddie was more so a martyr.
It's always hard for me to say that Freddie Gray gave me a platform to do anything. But also, the Baltimore Uprising gave me space to explore my politics. And I think it did that for a lot of people. And I think it produced a lot of healing.
It's not about what you do with your life, but it's about the legacy that you leave. Freddie Gray was a dope boy. He had lead paint poisoning. But Freddie Gray sparked a movement and a radicalization and forced young people into the streets. So Freddie will always be remembered as somebody that sparked an uprising inside of our minds. And I think that's the most powerful thing that we can do is keep fighting for that.
We have seen and lost some young warriors, war. Never thought that we'd be here. But I'm encouraged by your strength and power. You show up and you still care. I'm amazed by all your courage, I am. I'm inspired by your truth. Times have changed and so have I.